Hello. Just trying to fix this thing. Hey there. Happy Monday. Just 1 second for me. Hi fam. Happy Monday. Welcome to my Facebook Live. How is everyone doing today? Today I'm inside. Outside is wet, cold, damp. It's not the most conducive environments to be recording a live, eh? So I am going to be inside today. I'm just gonna give it a few minutes to see if anyone is going to join me live. Got my cup of tea. Actually, let me just pause this. Just listening to some vibes. By chance, did anyone pick up a Tribune this past weekend? Girl had a little cameo in there. It was such a pleasure for me to be able to share what my perfect Bahamian weekend would look like. And of course, if I had my way every weekend, I'd be jumping on a plane or hopping on a boat to go to some new island in our archipelago of the Bahamas, right? Because so much of it is so untouched and unspoiled and so beautiful, and a lot of times, of course, we miss out on it because we're just doing our day-to-day stuff. So I see some people joining in. Please do let me know your hair. Post a hello in the comments. So yeah, I have my bucket list. One day I want to actually own my own key in the Bahamas. I want to have my own little piece of the Bahamas. And of course, those days or those weeks when I just want to go missing, hop on a boat or a plane and go to my private island in the Bahamas. So yeah, so speaking of going places, today I'm going to be recapping my memories from a trip that I made a year ago at the first ever MTY retreat that was held in Cancun, Mexico, hosted by Myleik Teele. I'm not sure if any of you guys may know her. If you do, of course, post in the comments. And if you don't, she's an amazing Black entrepreneur, amazing woman. So you may want to look her up and get with the program. She's awesome. And so who was live with me? I see people popping in. I don't see anyone commenting. Let me know if you're here. Let me know who's live. I usually try to share out right before I come on, but today I was just not on top of it today, eh? So anyway, like I was saying, I'm going to be sharing today on the 6 things that the retreat, my MTY retreat, taught me about community and Black sisterhood. So for those who are new to my live, I am Aisha, a family and newborn photographer, creative mompreneur, and business coach to startup entrepreneurs who are looking to create clarity in their business and design their success blueprints. And just so you know, I am actually booking. So if you need to update your family shots, or if you're a couple, Valentine's is right around the corner. So contact me. My booking page is calendly.com/Aisha, or you can DM me right here on Facebook. Let's shoot, okay? And also, at the end of the recording, I'm also going to share how you can hop on a 20-minute discovery call with me if you are a new entrepreneur or an existing entrepreneur who wants to get some clarity in your business, you may have some questions, or some challenges, we can sit and talk for 20 minutes for free. So stick around so that you can find out how to do that. So today I'm talking about something that's super important to me. I'm talking about community, and I'm talking about sisterhood. And I've gotten through some of my most difficult times with the support of my sister friends. I've gotten through some of my most confusing times with the support of community. And so I'm truly a firm believer that we learn so much from each other, and I believe that we do need each other. I feel like, there's this idea floating around that we should just do us and be independent and not get too close to people, because of course, there's this fear that you share so much intimate, you share your intimate life, your stories, your experiences with people, and then, something happens, and the next thing you know, all of what was so personal to you becomes like ammunition for that person's terrifier, right? But despite all of that, and even though, of course, I know that happens, like that's a real thing, I believe that we attract people based on who we are and where we are in our journey. So based on our vibration, like we attract certain people and certain things into our lives. So I believe that if we want to have different experiences with our friends, with our family members, with our sisters, with our brothers, I feel like we have to change the place that we're coming from, right? And transform that fear, coming from that place of fear into more of a place of love and openness. So when we show up from a place of love and build relationships out of love and truth and honesty, a lot of that low vibrational negative stuff just kind of fades away. And that is also real. Like people believe that, wholeheartedly that, okay, people suck, right? But then when you tell them, no, this is a great person, and no, I haven't had those kinds of experiences, they're looking at you side-eyed because they're like, that's not possible. But really and truly it is. And I'll be the first to say that the circle of women that I've been around in the last, probably almost the last decade, has been, truly supportive. I've not had any of those like drama type stuff happening, and they are all people that I trust and love wholeheartedly. So going back to the MTY Retreat, so the retreat was like a year ago. So like about 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago actually, I applied to be one of the persons attending this retreat. Now they said from the onset that it was going to be a small group, and that they were going to select people based on who they felt was the best fit for this retreat that they were creating. And this is Myleik Teele. And so I said, well, you know what? I feel like I should be there, and I feel like, I can benefit from being there, as well as, there's so much that I can even bring to the table. And so I applied. And so 1 year ago to date, literally like last year, on the same day, I was in Cancun, Mexico with a complete group of strangers, right? As a matter of fact, out of all the women attending the retreat, I was one of the 2 women there who was not from the United States of America. So I definitely felt like a fish out of water, because while we were all Black women, there are still other segments within the Black community of, okay, well, are you American, or are you Caribbean, are you African, are you this, are you the next thing, right? But initially it was like, okay, great, I'm just going to be, and I didn't know that it was not like going to be people from all around the world, But nonetheless, I got there, and even before I got there, like heading there, all of my introvert qualities started to surface. And I was asking myself, like, what was I thinking? Why did I even apply to go to this thing? Because now I'm not going with anyone. I'm going by myself. So now I really have to step way out of my zone of comfort and, do a lot of things that I normally don't have to do, because a lot of times I'm with people that I know, right? So anyway, by the time as I left the retreat was, I think, 3 or 4 days. I think it was 4 days. And by the time as I left the retreat, there were so many emotions that I was feeling, and there were so many lessons, and these aren't like new lessons, but these are lessons that you are constantly being reminded of when you're in the space of great people. And so I feel so blessed to have had that experience. And not that that's like the only experience that I've had like that, but it was definitely a unique experience, right? So after the retreat, so many of the ladies that went there, because there were actually quite a few bloggers that were there, so a lot of the women that attended the retreat did their post-retreat reviews and all that good stuff. And I just never got around to it. I came back, and then of course was bam, back into my real life. And so I did not get around to doing a post-event review. But today I thought that this would kind of be like my tribute to the MTY REtreat, because it was one of those life-changing events. And I think that even now, even today, I still ride off of the wave of that energy that existed that weekend in Mexico, right? So before I get started with that, if you're watching this, I want you to just click the share button and send this video over to your bestie, whether that's your best girlfriend, your best guy friend. Share the video, let them know to click the play button and watch it whenever they have a chance. But I want you to keep watching. So here we go. And let me know if any of what I'm saying is resonating, because this is not going to be like new brainer stuff. This is all, again, these are all the lessons that I was reminded of at the MTY REtreat. And so I'm going to start. First of all, let me say, if you have not been to a retreat, whether it's a weekend retreat, a day retreat, or some events, if you're like 30 something plus, please put that on your bucket list, to-do list, or something, because there are lessons that you're going to learn being in those kinds of spaces that you just don't get otherwise, right? And so the first thing that I was reminded of attending the MTY REtreat was the very basic thing: just be yourself. We all have so many expectations of who we hope to meet when we go to these places, or we put so much pressure on ourselves to be something or someone that we're not. And the truth is, just be you. Whether it's an afternoon mixer, a one-day conference, we get this idea that we have to either be more or less of ourselves in order to fit in. So sometimes, like for the person that's more introverted, we feel the need to have to be more. And then for the person that's extroverted, they feel like they may need to tone things down. But just walk in your authentic space, So for example, I'll give this example as an introvert, because I've been introverted for most of my life. I think that I'm kind of moving into a different space. I'll talk about that maybe in another live, but most of my life I've been introverted. And so sometimes there's this feeling of being inadequate, or feeling like we don't have certain social skills to be able to meet people. Because when you go places, that's the whole thing. Like, you want to meet people. And so a lot of times I've gone places, and I'm quite okay with this, by the way. I'll go places and sometimes I don't meet anyone new. I just know who I maybe went with, or if I went by myself, because that's one thing that I do not have a problem doing, is showing up by myself. So even like in those instances, I may go and not meet anyone. And that's because for a long time, of course, I would just sit back and just watch things happen. I wouldn't be an active participant. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, like sometimes when we go in these spaces, we don't feel like we have the skills. And so that causes us to believe that either we have to like fade away or we have to put on a facade, right? And you don't have to. You don't. Usually, if you're in a group of 20 people, 30 people, 40 people, 100 people, it doesn't matter. If you are in a group of people, the chances of there being someone else in that group who is also an introvert or who also shares your quality is very, very likely. So the first thing is be comfortable enough to be in your own skin and have the confidence to walk up to a stranger and start a conversation. And I'm not saying like you have to walk into like a group of people, but you know, if you see someone that's solo, that's maybe sitting at the bar by themselves or sitting in a corner reading a book or whatever it may be, but use those opportunities, use that as an opportunity to go and start a conversation with somebody, to talk to somebody. That doesn't require you to step out of your character, but it does require you to step out of your comfort zone. And that is the thing that you have to do or have to be willing to do when you go to these group events, to be yourself, but to just step a little bit out of your comfort zone. Right? And there is no pressure. There is no pressure to be anything. So losing the idea that either someone is looking for you to be a particular thing, or losing the idea that you have to be a particular thing, it frees you, and it allows you to really, really just show up in your authentic space. And the people who you're meant to attract in that space will come to you. They will find you. And so as long as you're willing to kind of step out of the comfort zone of being in the background, fading into the background, that's what I call it. As long as you're willing to just step a little bit out of that and just to socialize as you, then you will be surprised to know how many people at the end of the day you leave meeting and connecting with, right? And so this actually ties into my second point, because when we get together in these sister circles or conferences, workshops, retreats, you name it, you're not the only one who feels awkward or out of place. You really aren't. There at the retreat, most of the girls, or women I should say, most of the women that I met within the first 5 minutes of the conversation talked about how awkward they felt, because a lot of them, including myself, traveled by themselves. So they came not really knowing anyone, came probably not really knowing what to expect, because we didn't have a lot of details of what was happening before we got there. So it was really a lot of anticipation. But in conversation, you recognize that you're not the only one who feels awkward. And another important thing that I recognized and took away from this event as well is that imposter syndrome is a thing. It's real. And a lot of us, women and men, question whether or not we belong in the room. So a lot of us will actually be wondering if we're supposed to be where we are. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Like, have you ever had that feeling of being invited to an event or being presented an award, or even just sitting at a table in a room with a group of people who you admire and thinking, oh my God, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, what am I doing here? have you thought about like these people are so accomplished, they've done X, Y, and Z, and here I am just haven't done probably X. So I don't belong here. Like, if you've had that experience, let me know in the comments, because I've had that experience in the past. And apparently a few weeks see, Tanya is saying she always feels that way. So that's imposter syndrome, and it's a real thing. And a while back I was actually looking it up, and this study from the journal, what's the study? Journal of Behavioral Science, says that over 70% of people, specifically in the US, that's where the study was done, have experienced imposter syndrome at some point or the other, right? And I'm sure if we did that same study here in the Bahamas, the numbers won't be off so much. The numbers would probably be the same. But I'm saying all of this to say, when we come together, like, we probably have more similarities than we have differences. We probably feel a lot of the same things more than we feel different things. And so instead of us being quick to judge people by just looking at someone, and that's very easy to do when you're just meeting people. Instead of just being quick to judge people or make assumptions, the whole concept of community is to commune and to communicate and to get to know the heart of people. And that's what was so very beautiful about my experience at the MTY retreat, is because I met so many women, and a lot of these women actually, I didn't know who they were, because I'm just like not the one to be following up people like that. But apparently some of these women are very popular people. And if I had known that in advance, perhaps I may have come with some prejudgment of who these people were. But having the opportunity to just commune and communicate and talk to allowed me to recognize that, okay, again, there are so many more similarities than there are differences. And so while you may say, okay, well, what am I doing here? You realize that you actually deserve to be there. And the truth is, that's the whole idea of community. We're not all, or sisterhood, we're not all going to be at the same place or in the same space of our journey at the same time. So some of us may be ahead, and the idea for those who are ahead is to actually pull people up, and then some of us may be behind, and the idea is to be inspired and supported by those who are maybe further ahead of us to help us along our journey. And it continues, because at some point there's going to be somebody who's going to be looking to you to help them on their journey. So again, the whole idea of community, the whole idea is about us actually getting to know each other, and the feelings that we have are usually very similar, right? And so that takes me to the third point. And the third point is that when we show up open and authentic, we are a powerhouse. We are unstoppable. We are magic. That's, I can't remember the guy's name. Somebody who said that as a speech said, not because we're magic doesn't mean we're not real, right? But when we decide to come together, we come together, whether we come together as brothers, whether we come together as sisters, whether we come together as a family. When we decide to come together, we come together. And when we are walking together, there's nothing that we can't do once we put our mind to it. And so I remember at the retreat, like, the other guests that were there were so amazed to see so many Black women in one place, right? And let me add that it was just women. It wasn't a co-ed thing. It was all women. And so people would stop me and they would be like, what are we doing there? Literally, they would ask, what are you guys doing here? And they just could not understand why or how it was that all of these Black women were at this fabulous 5-star resort. And let me just tell you, Myleik does not pull punches. Like, she took us, I think that had to be like one of the best resorts in Cancun. And so people were wondering how it is that we were there. And, you know, one lady was asking me, like, did your job send you here? Like, what are you guys doing here? You know, and it was so funny. But, you know, the bottom line is our presence was felt throughout the resort. You know, people recognize if it was one or two of us like strolling on the beach or sitting in a restaurant, maybe they would not have paid attention. But the fact that all of us were there together, all up in our Black woman magic, like they had no choice but to pay attention. And so don't be afraid to like partner, and don't be afraid to collaborate or to come together and move together, because it's in that community, in that coming together, that we build strength. And every single time that a sister or a brother joins a community, that increases your impact, that increases your reach, and that increases like the attention. Like, not saying that you're looking for attention, but it attracts attention, because like I said, there was no way that you could not notice all of these Black women in this space, which probably, you know, on an everyday basis may not have that type of, you know, obviously not this group of women together. And so it goes back to the saying, together we stand, divided we fall. I'm all for community again, because people take notice, and together we can do things that divided we may not be able to accomplish. And I see it every day, even when you talk about our local communities in our country. And so that's a whole different topic. But anyway, I'm gonna go on to number 4. The next thing I learned from being at the MTY retreat. One second. So if you're someone who struggles with confidence, or who still questions their self-worth, get with your sisters or get with your brothers. And it's not that being with your sister or your brother will automatically change who you are, but energy transfers. And actually, in saying energy transfers, let me be even more specific. Get around your positive, ambitious, confident sisters and brothers, because they will rub off on you. And in turn, you will walk with more confidence. You'll begin to believe in yourself more. You will push yourself further. And that's because you now have people that you're accountable to. You now have people who are looking and watching your progress, and who are encouraging you to continue to push and to continue to do more and to continue to do better. And so their success, their succeeding, is pushing you toward your success and toward your succeeding. And just as a little side note, there is no success without confidence. So you have to master your confidence. You have to master your belief in yourself in order for you to start to see yourself becoming successful, or to start to have the success that you're looking for in the various areas of your life. Okay, does that make any sense? Am I making any sense? Let me know in the comments if I'm making any sense. Let me know, what your experiences have been with your sisters and your brothers, or in your community groups. I'm going to be moving on to this next point. And I think this is an important point for me because, again, being around a group of people, a lot of times we can easily get lost, or we can feel lost, right? But being at the MTY retreat reminded me that in sisterhood, we are all validated. Who we are, what we are, why we're here, what we're doing, all of it is important, and all of it matters in the collective, because you may think because you're getting started, or maybe someone else may think because they've been doing something, that their role or their contribution may be more or less valuable, right? And it's not, because in the community, like I just said, we're all going to be at different places at different times, and where we are in our journey allows us to speak to whoever it is that we need to speak to, who may be at that same space in their journey, or who may be getting to that space on their journey. Whether we're advanced, starter, intermediate, it doesn't matter. Whether we're a receptionist, whether we're a cook, whether we're a surgeon, it doesn't matter. The point is, we are all validated, and I was able to see that because being in this room with all these different women doing so many different things, and everybody just, in awe of what each person is doing and bringing to the table. It reminded me that in the community and in the sisterhood, and this is what it should be. Now, I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but there should be validation, right? We should know, we should feel that our contributions and who we are is valued. And so the last thing I want to share about community and sisterhood, and this one is kind of funny because I didn't always feel this way about this particular thing. And so this is the thing: no matter where you go, no matter which community you're in, which sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever it may be, there will always be the sister or the brother that just loves to be the center of attention. And guess what? That's okay. That's okay. Because I remember back in the day, it would be so annoying to have to deal with that type of energy. It's very exhausting, especially if you're around that energy one-on-one. It's exhausting. And I know because we all have those type of engagements, and I'm sure most of us even in our smaller circles, we know someone that fits that character trait. They just love to be the center of attention, love to be seen, love to be heard. But it really dawned on me at the retreat that it's okay. Like, a lot of times these are the people that we're very quick to judge. We're very quick to assess why they're so loud, or in some instances maybe even vulgar. But it's okay. Like, allow them to be true to them. Allow them to be in their authentic space. Their light shining does not dim your light. Their light shining does not take away from you. It does not diminish anything about you and what you bring to the table. And so, them showing up as who they are allows them to attract who they need to attract, right? And it has nothing to do with you. So you're going to meet these kinds of people. There's no ifs and ands about it. What's most important, though, is that when we meet them with love. And when we come together in a space of love and authenticity, right? And so, in wrapping up, let me ask you, are you involved in any community groups or any sister groups or any group that supports something that you may be passionate about? And if you're not, give it some consideration, because there's really a lot to learn and a lot to give and a lot to take from being in a community. And when I went out on the limb and applied to be a part of this incredible group of ladies, they turned out to be an amazing group of women at the MTY retreat. And not that I talked with every single person, because I didn't, but the women that I did have an opportunity to talk to, I was just blown away by the fact that, it was all open and it was just all genuine connecting, right? And so I walk away from that experience having even more respect and placing even more value on community. So if you missed last week's live, I did share that I have actually formed an online community for new entrepreneurs who are primarily getting started in their business, but also for entrepreneurs who may be in business and just, again, want that community, want that space where they can show up authentically and share the struggles or share the successes and the wins, because we have to be able to share it all, not just the good stuff, but sometimes we have to be open enough to also share, like, this is what my struggle is, this is what I'm having a challenge with, and so on and so on. So the community is called Blueprint Business Society. It's on Facebook. You can search it, or you can actually look on my Facebook page, because I think it's still posted there from last week. But I welcome you to join us, become a part of the community. Let's come together and support each other through this art of building business, right? And as I also mentioned earlier, I'm offering free 20-minute discovery calls for persons who may have a side hustle or a business, and they may need a little guidance or they may want to talk through a challenge that they're having, or they may actually need some coaching support. So you can actually schedule a free call through my Calendly. Again, that's calendly.com/Aisha Nesud Ani, and I'll post the link in the comments. And before I wrap up, I guess I would just encourage you to, again, share the video, share it with one of your sister friends, tell them to watch. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear if you've been to an event. I know I'm not disregarding that there are some events that you go to, these sister events or these girlfriend or women empowerment events. I have a women's empowerment group as well, Viva la Bella, and I've been to events also where the energy was not actually from that space of openness and love, right? It's more the judgment and the fear and all that stuff, which I wouldn't even talk about because that's not something I promote. But I'm letting you know that I truly do believe that community and sisterhood is very important for growth and for development. And so join the Blueprint Business Society, and this is specific to business growth. And Viva la Bella, like I said, is a women's empowerment group. We're going to be doing some stuff later on in the year. But share the video, like my page, and see you again next Monday. Peace and love.